Repeat after me. I open myself to love.
I open myself to love.
I open myself to joy.
I open myself to joy.
I am one, unafraid to become.
We believe
We believe there's one power, love, intelligence that creates everything,
including each of us.
We each use that same power, love, intelligence
to create our life according to our beliefs.
I stand for peace, let there be love.
Whatever that new experience is, whatever it is that we're intending and desiring, we are opening ourselves to it, each of us individually and all of us together.
Our new life.
Our new life.
Our new life begins with a new thought.
We are making a new world.
So I'm going to read something, and I apologize for its genderism. It was written in a time where gender specificity was a little less of concern. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with the success unexpected in common hours. That was Henry David Thoreau. And I love that. There is a richness to it and a promise that is the essence of new thought. But there are some caveats in this statement. The first is the direction of your dreams. Now, inherent in that idea is that you have been consciously considering where it is you want to go. Right? And so often in New Thought, we are all about principle works. It doesn't matter who uses it. It is not a respecter of persons. It works for everybody. It is working all the time. And so whatever we impress upon that universal principle is being reflected back to us in our experience. We believe that, or I believe that, at the very core of my being. And so it becomes important to know where it is I want to go. Because quite often, and I've seen this happen for myself, and I'm sure it happens for others, we think we have an idea of where we want to go. And we say, I want to be there. I want to be wealthy. I want to be in love. I want to be peaceful. And these are all good things. They're natural things to want good in our life, to seek that good, and then to carry that idea of that good in our lives. Yet, sometimes we get a little contradictory with it. We can have an idea of where we want to go, but then we start rooting around in that idea and adding in the ideas of all the impossibilities of why where we want to go is unachievable. And then, strangely enough, there is this human characteristic that after doing that for a while, we wonder why we haven't achieved the dream that we had when we started the process. And that's the principle at work. We have a dream and an intention, and we set it in motion. We may even have clarity of what that dream and intention is. And yet, as we move through our days, things come up that seem to contradict that. And this is kind of the point at which we have a responsibility to renew whatever faith we have in that idea becoming real for us, to reinstate the nature of the primary purpose of what we want to be doing. Now, each one of us is an individual with a unique road to travel, with our own objectives, our own desires, and a creative impulse that is moving in a unique and wonderful way through us to share itself with the world. That's a given. And we are powerful. We are powerful beings. was the ability to bring into experience that which we desire. So one of the first parts of this developing your dreams is really to take the time to understand yourself and what it is that you desire. Perhaps this is through meditation, one of my favorite routes, that stilling of the active mind that allows for that still small voice or that guidance or whatever source from which you choose to call it to arise in the mind as a directive, as something that resonates, that plucks that harpstring that is your heart that says, yes, this is something I desire in my life. And for each one of us, that is going to be at a different place. For some of us, that may be, I need to have a job, a position that supports me financially because I'm finding it hard to pay the bills and do that which I desire. And that's fine. It may be as simple as, I want to get up tomorrow with more energy. It may be larger. It may be, I want to be an effective presence in the world for my chosen cause. It may be that I would like to attain enlightenment and am willing to follow the path to do that. So wherever on the spectrum your personal journey is guiding you, I suggest that first you clarify where it is that you want to go. Because clarifying where you don't want to be is a really great way to continue being where you don't want to be. Because when you say, I don't want this, what is the universe saying?
Yes.
Yes! It's only got one answer. That answer is always yes to whatever you put into it. So when we say, I don't want something, you haven't replaced it with what you do want. So it's going to continue on giving you the I don't want. Just seems to work that way. So if we spend some time gathering that information, I call it intel recon. So I go on these little missions of meditation and visioning trips to gather my intel recon about where I should be going next. And in doing that, it often gives me a really broad picture of what I want to be, without a lot in terms of specifics to get to where I want to go. And that's okay. I don't mind that so much. I've gotten used to having a general purpose and then finding what next brings that into being. But it does give me a sounding board about how I want to act in the world. See, that's that second part. And endeavors to live the life which he has imagined. So it's really beautiful to have a clarity of purpose in your life, whether it be a new job or a new life or an effective place in the world, whatever your journey is taking you on. Right? But if you are not actually aligning yourself with the attitudes and insights that that place that you want to be is, it's a little hard to get there. I apologize if this has offended anybody. It's like statements like, God, I hate bigots. Does anybody see the problem with this statement? Okay? So we're in a state right now where some tragic things have happened and people are espousing some things that I do not agree with vehemently in our country at the moment. And it's causing a lot of disruptions. And some people's response is to drop immediately to the level of violence and finger pointing and engage at that level. Now, in metaphysics, what we call this is mistaking a cause for a condition. Honestly, this is all happening at the conditional level of reality. It is not a primary cause. It is people moving deck chairs around on the boat and hoping something will change. So when you try to apply a force in opposition to a force, ultimately both of those forces will lose power as attention is drawn elsewhere. Because force is a limited time. It's a specific objective to get from one place to another in a conditional reality. Whereas power is what is inherent within each one of us to dream our dreams and bring those dreams into reality. So if the reality is that you would like to experience is one of peacefulness and harmony and equality, then acting in any other way than peacefully, harmoniously, and with equity or equanimity is counter to what your purpose is. It is uprooting your thoughts and ideals and dreams of peacefulness to engage at a level of non-peacefulness. And some may say that is weak. And I would say that all of the great movements in human evolution have been based in power rather than force. That the ideals that have evolved the human consciousness to the place we are at this moment where we have the opportunity to choose have been based in the power of spirit, guiding us to a greater expression of love. Love cannot be hate. And so in situations, particularly currently, there is a point at which we have to make a choice of whether we rise above the level of the condition and move ourselves back to the primary cause, that is the spiritual love that is permeating everything, and allow that power of love to change the condition without having to move the deck chairs around. Now, I'm not saying that if your personal path is one that feels that this is where you need to place yourself in integrity, to not do that. That's what you're being drawn to do. But there's a difference between standing in integrity for peace and engaging in violence in the name of peace. That's just the truth. You cannot be peaceful if you are throwing bottles. We cannot understand peace from a place of anger and hatred. It cancels out the idea of love in the individual, but not the idea of love in the universal. So it is incumbent upon us to rise up to a higher level of consciousness of love that accepts an apparent contradiction in our current experience. There is much conflict going on in the world today, and many people are pointing at other people and saying it's because they don't believe as I believe. And that may be true on a conditional level. But if we are to have peace, we must be peace first. If we are to have a loving society, we must be loving first. Because the only control I have in my life is the control of my thoughts. When I can. Anybody ever tried to control your thoughts for an entire day? Anybody been successful?
I thought you were going to say no.
Exactly. It's very difficult, but nobody ever said that being a metaphysician and knowing that you are indeed the author of your experience is an easy path to follow. Nobody ever said that following whatever religious path you follow is an easy path to follow. But it is one filled with joy and love and understanding and purpose. And so we have a choice to step back into the ease and comfort of our own world, or to step forward with the same integrity that we feel when we are at ease and in comfort in our own safe and secure environment, and to begin to take that out into the world as an expression of love, ease, and comfort, and allow that to emanate and change the world around us. So, in the idea of thoughts, one must be consistent. I'm just talking Okay, you don't have to be consistent. Honestly, you can do whatever you want. That's the game. You can do whatever you want. But if you would like to achieve the dreams that you desire to live in the manner in which you have imagined yourself living, you need to be consistent. So you have to, when those thoughts, those errant thoughts of, God, I hate bigots, drop into your head, you have to actively participate in eliminating that thought. Because it is not just every thought has power. The ones we think most have power in our experience. So it's the tendency of our thinking that's unfolding as our experience of life. So if we tend to think more on the side of the negative, we are going to look for and be reinforced by more and more negative thinking. And that will snowball and has, that building effect of creating a negative experience in which you are being a fantastic metaphysician. Absolutely wonderful. You are fulfilling and understanding the laws of metaphysics perfectly. You are worrying your way into negative experiences. And this is fulfilling all of the requirements of a practical prayer in its power. You see, the power and the principle doesn't care how we use it. It's just a power and a principle. It's up to us to choose how we use it, to choose the nature of the new experience that we would like to have in our lives. And that's really important. It's really important. Because as more of us choose to be love and peace and prosperity and joyous, more of us are loving and peaceful and prosperous and joyous. And at a certain point, that becomes the norm. Now, I don't know where that point is. I can look at the news, which is secondary condition, and say, I'm not quite sure we've reached that yet. But on the whole, while there is still much to be accomplished, much has been accomplished. There is a little bit less war than there used to be. There are a little more opportunities than there used to be. So we are moving forward globally if we choose to look at it that way. If we choose to understand not only all the negative stuff that gets put into us by the media, by everybody else who's like sitting around talking about the negative side of life, and choose to look at also the good things, to seek out those good things that are happening in the world, that are coming about right now, and be part of that. To engage with that in our lives and bring that into more being in the world. This is part of the consistency and persistence that brings us with meeting a success in unexpected in common hours. So when we do the internal work of clearing our thought patterns of the negativity, all of a sudden anybody ever noticed this? I mean, I'm a New Thought minister. I notice this all the time. Anybody ever notice that when we focus on positive things start happening to us directly? In spite of what we hear out there? In spite of whatever, negative thoughts we have, if we have just a little bit more positive thinking than we have negative thinking, positive things start happening. Now that's the power and the principle working in our lives individually. And when we harness that with a consistency of thinking that is along the path of our dreams, the power to experience what we dream of experiencing is ours right now. And when we harness the ability of our thoughts and our thinking and our general attitude of life, it starts to unfold as an expression of that in our experience. And we each have that capability. It is not denying any of the conditions, really. The conditions are the conditions, but the conditions are the results of a cause. And the cause is not another condition. The cause is in spirit. And the spirit that resides within each one of us, that indwells us as a reflection of itself in a physical form, is a channel through which it can move us into this greater experience of life, of love, of joy. Because the universe is always saying yes. So I invite you, as you go about your week, be aware of your thinking. I invite you also to spend a little time, probably in a few minutes, considering what purpose is drawing you into activity. And to really ask yourself as you go about your week, am I in alignment? Am I endeavoring to live in the manner that will bring about my dream, that I have imagined life to be? Because when you say no, you have to stop and tell yourself yes, and correct to be in alignment with that. I invite you to the experiment. I invite you to practice this in the laboratory of your life and to see what happens. Notice. Namaste.